Concern number 3 for the gospel-centered movement. The movement seems to be tottering on antinomianism. Not all of them. I'm just sensing a lot more of this. We don't talk about the commands of God. Hey, we're Christians. We're in the gospel. We're forgiven. Right? But God also says, don't do this, act like this, be like that. The New Testament still has commands. And I'm just sensing from the gospel-centered movement, enough for it to be remarkable to me, that it's almost becoming anti-law. We don't talk about those things. No do's, it's just done. Okay, but now that it's done, we're commanded to do stuff. I fear that the gospel-centered movement is getting awfully close to antinomianism. Concern number 2. Any discussions on the sanctification issue lack 2 important motivators. We already talked about fear, but also rewards. You know, God offers us rewards for doing good things. Now, that should not be the primary motivator for sanctification, nor should fear. It should be our gratitude for what He's done for us in the cross. But God also says, let fear motivate you. Let rewards motivate you. Without those 2 things, we're just not giving saints all of the tools that they need to grow in holiness. And my concern is that without that fear of the Lord component and a motivator toward rewards, you might just start seeing, let's hope not, more gospel-centered leaders and gospel-centered Christian followers not acting in a very sanctified kind of way. And concern, finally, number 1 for the gospel-centered movement, there are some who appear to be abusing their liberties under the banner of the gospel. 2 things, alcohol and language. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a teetotaler on a crusade. All alcohol is sinful. I'm not saying that at all. But recognizing the delicate nature of alcohol, the harm that it has caused, and that there are many Christians who think that any consumption of alcohol is a sin, why do I see a fair number of gospel-centered guys actually running websites and blogs that are all about beer or wine or alcohol consumption? Do you have liberty? Sure, but 1 Corinthians 8 through 10, Romans 14, we don't have liberty to flaunt it under the banner of, hey, we can consume alcohol, so we're going to kind of show it off. We should never treat our liberties that way. Same thing with language. Just because the Son has set us free, it doesn't mean we have the freedom to talk like salty dogs. Noticing, again, my observation, just a little bit of a lapse in a higher speaking, and the willingness to use language and somehow justify it in saying, well, it's not really technically a swear word. Well, if other Christians think it is, then you should just lose it, because we should never flaunt our liberties. Are my critiques accurate? Are they valid? You be the judge, and if you concluded, yeah, maybe 1 or 2 of those for me is, then I trust you will simply adjust.